This is probably the hardest thing I've ever had to say out loud. And I don't even know if I'll ever actually post this. But I need to say it. I need to be honest, even if it's just to this camera right now. I cheated. My voice cracks slightly. I pause, looking down at my hands, then back up. And I know how that sounds. I know what people think of women who cheat. I think it of myself, to be honest. But I need to tell you why. Not to excuse it, not to justify it, because there's no justification for what I did. But to explain the dark, hollow place I was in. The place where I made such a terrible mistake. My partner Mark and we've been together for 6 years. We built a life. We talked about forever. And for a long time, it was everything I ever wanted. He was my best friend, my rock. But somewhere along the line, slowly, subtly, things changed. It wasn't a big fight, not a sudden break. It was a slow fade. He got incredibly busy with work. Long hours, constant travel, and I got caught up in my own routines. We were living together, but we stopped being together. We became roommates more than lovers. He'd come home exhausted, scroll through his phone while I made dinner, maybe a quick peck on the cheek before he'd disappear into his study or just pass out on the couch. I missed the little things, the spontaneous hugs that used to pepper our days, the lingering eye contact that said, "I see you." The genuine, "How was your day?" that felt like he truly wanted to know. I missed feeling cherished. I started to feel invisible, like I was just there, a fixture in his life, not a vibrant, essential part of it. The emotional distance grew, slowly but steadily. It felt like a chasm forming between us, and I was screaming across it, but my voice just wasn't reaching him. I tried to talk to him, gently at first. "Hey, I feel a bit disconnected," or "Could we try to
have more us time?" He'd agree. Sometimes we'd manage a nice dinner out or a movie night where he'd actually put his phone away. But it never lasted. The pattern always returned. The silence grew heavier. That's where the emptiness started to settle in. A deep, persistent, gnawing ache in my chest. I felt starved for attention, for connection, for simply being seen. I shift uncomfortably, picking at my cuticles. Pause. Then I met Alex.
It was at a work conference. Completely innocent at first, of course. He was a client from out of town, funny, engaging, and he listened. Really listened. We had coffee breaks, talked about projects, then about life outside of work. He asked me questions about myself, real questions, not just polite inquiries, but questions that showed he was paying attention, that he remembered what I'd said before. It was like someone had flickered a light back on in a room I hadn't even realized had gone completely dark. I felt a warmth, a spark, that I hadn't realized I was missing so profoundly. It wasn't about physical attraction initially. It was the attention, the feeling of being interesting again, of being valued, of being present in someone's thoughts. The conference ended, but we stayed in touch. Just harmless texts at first. "Good morning, hope you have a great day. Thinking of you." Each message was a small jolt of something I desperately crave.
Validation, connection, a reminder that someone somewhere thought of me.
My heart started to race whenever his name popped up on my phone. It was thrilling, in a way my life hadn't been for so long. And I knew, even then, this was dangerous territory. I told myself it was harmless, just a friend, just someone who made me feel good about myself when I felt so emotionally starved at home. But I also knew I was keeping it a secret from Mark, and that secrecy itself was a betrayal. The line blurred. The emotional intimacy grew. It felt like he saw me, the person I felt I used to be, before the neglect dimmed her. Then came the day we met for drinks after work, just to catch up. The air was thick with unspoken things. The tension was undeniable. One drink turned into 2, then 3. The laughter was easy, the conversation flowed effortlessly. He reached across the table, took my hand. Just a touch, but it sent shivers down my spine. A small, rational part of me screamed, "Stop! This is wrong!" But a louder, hungrier part,
Art whispered, "Feel this. You deserve to feel this." It was a desperate plea for connection, for warmth, for proof that I wasn't completely invisible. We ended up back at his place. I don't remember much of the exact conversation, just the overwhelming, intoxicating sense of being wanted. The first kiss was electric, a sudden, intense release of all that pent-up longing, all that emotional starvation. It was reckless. It was passionate, immediate, all-consuming. It was everything my relationship with Mark wasn't in that moment.
In that fleeting, selfish moment, I wasn't neglected. I was desired. I was vibrant. I was alive. The thrill was immense. A wild, almost defiant joy that I was finally taking something for myself, something I felt had been withheld from me for so long. I take a shaky breath, tears welling up in my eyes. Then, the morning after, the crash. The shame hit me like a physical blow, a cold, heavy weight in my stomach that made me want to throw up. What had I done? I looked at myself in his bathroom mirror, and I didn't recognize the person staring back. The thrill evaporated, leaving behind a bitter, metallic taste of regret. Mark, my partner. The man I loved despite everything. How could I have done this to him? The guilt was suffocating. I felt dirty, despicable. I couldn't breathe. I wanted to rewind time, erase the night, but it was done. The line had been crossed. And yet, I went back, more than once. It became this
Horrible, destructive cycle. Each time, it was the same dangerous dance. The initial high of being with Alex, of feeling that intense, intoxicating attention. The secret calls, the hushed texts, the adrenaline rush of almost being caught, of living a lie. But the guilt never truly left. It was always there, a nagging ache, a shadow lingering in the periphery.
Sometimes with Alex, I could forget it for a few hours. I could pretend I was someone else, in a different life. But the moment I was alone, the moment I walked back into my own home, it would engulf me. I'd look at Mark, so innocent, so trusting, and my heart would ache with a pain I deserved. I found myself overcompensating with him, being overly affectionate, cooking his favorite meals, trying to be the perfect partner to somehow balance the ledger in my twisted moral accounting. It was exhausting. Living a double life, feeling like a terrible person every single day. The thrill started to diminish. It was replaced by a hollow ache, a constant anxiety. What started as an escape from neglect became its own cage. A cage built of lies and shame, trapping me more effectively than any emotional distance ever could. It came to a head a few weeks ago. Mark and I were having dinner, and he said something about feeling disconnected, that he missed the old us. It wasn't
An accusation. It was just an observation, and it shattered me. Whispers. He was feeling it too. My actions weren't just filling my own void. They were creating a bigger one in our relationship, one that he was now feeling.
I realized I was trying to fix neglect with more destruction. I was actively hurting the person I claimed to love, and the only person who could truly help me mend the original neglect was him. Not some thrilling, fleeting escape. The weight became unbearable. I couldn't carry it anymore. The thrill was gone. All that was left was the crushing guilt and the profound regret. I haven't told Mark yet. This video. This is my first step. My first attempt at honesty, even if it's just to myself, and to you, the strangers who might be watching. I know I have to tell him. I know it will hurt him deeply, and it will probably destroy everything we've built, everything we still have. But I also know I can't live with this lie anymore. It's eating me alive from the inside out. Cheating didn't fix the neglect. It just added another layer of pain, a far deeper, more toxic kind
Of pain. It made me realize that seeking external validation through a reckless act was a poor substitute for genuine communication, for self-worth, and for confronting the real issues in my life. I stand here, a woman who made a terrible mistake, born out of a desperate, misguided attempt to feel something, anything, other than invisible. Whispers. Crying, if you're out there, feeling neglected, feeling unseen, please, talk, seek help. Do anything but what I did. It's a road that leads to nothing but regret, nothing but self-loathing.
I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm asking for understanding, perhaps, and for a path forward, however painful it may be. This is my confession and my plea for forgiveness from myself and eventually from the man I hurt. I look directly into the camera, my face streaked with tears, my chin trembling slightly. I take a long, shuddering breath, then finally, quietly say, "Thank you for listening."